Hey guys, welcome to Appalachia's Homestead. Patara here with a quick video for you. You've been asking to see our gardens. We're going to show you. It's been a late come on as far as our gardens this year because of the weather this past winter, but we wanted to show you how our bounty is starting to come in. We've just picked this morning zucchinis and peppers and lots of cucumbers. So we're going to start. We're up in near the upper garden. It's a smaller garden. It's my lasagna based garden. We do add compost and manure and all sort of natural things to all of our gardens, but this is the one that we kicked off when we first moved up here with a lasagna style. So first thing I want to show you this year is my cucumbers. I thought I was pulling back a little bit on my cucumbers this year. Didn't happen. We're going to have a lot. I changed up how I did my cucumbers this year. I love for cucumbers to grow vertical. I think they prefer it themselves, and these are doing really nicely. I like to take large tomato stands, and this year what I did is I zip-tied bamboo. Instead of making some of my bamboo in with my, to make teepees for my beans, I used them here with my cucumbers. So I just like to plant them. These are from Baker Creek Heirloom. These are like an Israeli style cucumber, as they call them, and they're burpless, they're sweet, they're smooth, my favorite. And they're starting to come in. We've got lots of blooms still. I mean, it's just now starting, really. The blooms are just unbelievable. The more blooms and more bees, the more cucumbers you're going to get, definitely. So this is just one little section, and we'll just keep moving. All right, here we are kind of in the tomato patch. I pulled back this year in terms of how many tomatoes I was going to plant. We planted 106 tomato plants last year. That's a lot, and it took a lot of maintenance, which I'm not complaining about, but I wanted to pull back this year to how many actual stands that I love, which put us at about, I think, 29 tomato plants. And I didn't grow my tomato plants this year from seed. This is the first time I've not done that, so I was a little heartbroken, but I got hurt back in February, so I had to make choices in terms of what I was doing in terms of taking care of myself in the homestead. So I have a great source for buying heirloom tomatoes from a local co-op and from the Mennonites, so we just went with that. So far, so good. I think it's very important to have really rich soil for your tomatoes, but also to clip them, to keep the leaves off the ground, off the bottom. You know, clip it up. You want to keep plenty of airflow in between, and you have to make choices in where you're going to clip, and you're pulling your suckers and whatnot. But also, I like to keep them tied. So I'm coming out about once a week right now and really tending to my tomatoes. We have not had any issue with firing up so far, blight or insects. I have sprayed neem oil on them one time, and I'm really impressed with what it's doing. As far as my watering system, I buy the water picks, and these are from gardenersupply.com, and then you just attach, you choose what type of soil you've got, and you hammer that through the hole, and then you attach a 2-liter upside down, you cut it off, you put a little bit of sand in the bottom, you just stick it down in there, and the plant chooses how it needs to take in water. I've been using these for several years, and we have found it to be very effective, and it keeps down the water off of the plant, so we'll keep moving. All right, so down at the other end, we decided to do to grow our Missouri Wonder green beans. I love Missouri Wonder green beans. They're my favorite in terms of flavor. We're starting to grow these on some of our horse fencing that we have left over. Anything that we can upcycle or reuse, we try to. Saves money, smart. But also, I started having a lot of rogue plants in my lasagna garden. I have pulled more plants that have regenerated from last year than I ever dreamed I would. But I've let some of them go. So some of my cucumbers down here and cucumbers and zinnias over here are from last year, and I've had to pull probably 30 tomato plants because they wanted to reseed. So that's a good problem, in my opinion, to have. You just have to control it. But anyway, we did have our green beans here last year down this entire, we had 80 feet of green beans, and we decided to rotate it. So we're going to have a little bit less of the Missouri Wonders, but we had a whole lot more peas, and that allowed for the crop rotation this year. So my peas are starting to dry off through here a little bit, and some of the weeds are coming in that we're going to have to pull. But we had these sugar snap peas. I could eat these all day long, breakfast, lunch, and dinner. But we are still pulling, and we're giving a lot to the goats. They love them, and we're freezing some, and we're starting to let them dry because I want to seed save for next year. So that's going to be, a really good drying system for that. And also, this fencing here, or some type of fencing, protects the garden from, it's like a windbreak. We need a windbreak up here. So anyway, so we're finishing the tomatoes, You've got the Missouri Wonders on this side. We've got a lot of zinnias and rogue cucumbers that are putting out like crazy over here. So we'll walk around and we'll show you the peppers. All right, through here on the other side, we are growing peppers. Our peppers are growing late, simply because peppers need a lot of heat. The heat has hit, as you can probably tell. It's come on with a vengeance, but because of a late winter and spring being so cool and we got a lot of rain, you know, the peppers just sort of sat here. So, but now they're starting to take off. We're starting to get our bell peppers and jalapenos. So the salsa is going to be good. The marinara is certainly going to be good this year. Now we got to get in here and we got to pull weeds. It's just part of it. The weeds in our area, if we get in here early enough, especially if it's near the grass clipping, I try to use as much grass clippings as possible around the plants. I think it helps. It minimizes the weed situation and it feeds the soil. Look how easy that comes up. I mean, it's just like no effort. It's not fun, but still minimal effort. So we get several hands out here and we try to weed as much as we can. It's a lot of work, so but we're not complaining because it is the way you got to go. So we'll continue showing you the other big garden. I hope you enjoyed seeing the side with the Roma beans coming up, so we'll show you those too. Here, this is my Roma 2. I decided to go ahead and put a little Roma 2 patch in here of bush beans. I love them. You don't have to string them. And we got all the weeds out. They're doing really good. On the other garden, we have a rabbit family that's liking to visit, and it sort of liked one of my rows a little bit too much. So it's part of it. But then we of course have zinnia. This is the I think they're called the peppermint striped, and they're starting to come out. And I've never had these before. I normally do the large California zinnias, which is that row. And of course we have sunflowers, a small thing of sunflowers. I wanted to pull in more pollinators this year, so of course we're making that work. And of course, you know, you always have the beans. They're starting to come on. So this is our small garden, if you will, the upper garden. And it'll probably transition every year. You have to do a lot of rotation. So this is just a little start here. It's hot. All right, so we'll take you over to the other side and show you the big garden. And you're going to go, whoo, she's got some work to do. We'll be back with you in a second. All right, guys, we transitioned over to the larger garden. A lot of work to do today. These first 2 rows right here are our Roma 2 beans. Last year we planted just 2 rows of these beans. I planted more this year. This is your bush bean, and out of 2 rows last year we got between 5 and 6 bushels. So they're starting to come on now, so we'll be ready to pick maybe in a week or so. By now we've already picked. Again, delay in season. Along that long stretch right through there is my bright light cosmos and more zinnias. I'm trying to put as many wonderful, attractive plants for pollinators in here. The next 2 rows over, which are starting to get close to their peak, is my potatoes. We did Yukon Gold this year. I did not do a red potato. I buy my red potatoes from the Mennonites, so I decided just to double my Yukon Gold. Really hopeful for that outcome. We're really getting up there towards pushing the 80 days. So I have not had a whole lot of trouble with my potatoes this year. I wanted to show you what I did. Just keep showing them. I bought this, a neem oil, and I have been picking some potato bugs, because potato bugs, come on, the Colorado potato beetle. And I bought the organic neem oil extract this year, sprayed it. I really think it's working really well with my tomatoes and potatoes this year. Notice they are in separate gardens. Of course, I have my bucket for picking any critters. Just keep a big bucket with soapy water in it, and I just walk through and pick and pluck and drop right in there. So we'll take you down to the sunflowers and to the 3 sisters. All right, we've moved down to the bottom section of the garden. We have our sunflowers. We have 1 huge row this year. I lost 1 or 2 plants due to weather, to a rabbit bite. And we've planted 3 different types of sunflowers. So down here I have the Hopi, and I have the large, I think they're called the large sunburst. And then up there is another large variety. I like the big, multicolored, you know, bigger the better. On this side, we planted our corn. We planted our corn late. A lot of folks like to get their corn in the ground first week of May. I didn't get mine in until the 21st, I think. So they look a little small. Well, they are. They're 2 weeks behind most everybody else. But we are starting to get tassels. Now, the corn that I chose this year in this rows, I went with what the Mennonites are growing down in Polk County, and they are big into the non-GMO movement. This is their seed. This is the white 4 o'clock. It's supposed to be really sweet. And this is straight from them. This is their deal. So I'm really anxious to see how this turns out, because who does not love sweet white corn? Come on. So this is what these rows are doing. And of course we have more beans and whatnot, but we've shown you those, so we'll continue. Now, I will tell you, 90-degree weather, you finally get the rain you need, more beautiful weather, this is what you got to start fighting. So we're going to have a lot of helpful hands out this evening. Everybody takes a row, and we're going to be, you got to weed. It's a weekly chore. You've got to get out and work the garden. The plants that need your assistance. So we'll move down a little bit and show you what else we're doing. All right, so now we're down to the final portion. We doubled the size of this garden this year. So I was going to just plant rows of corn, and then I said, you know what, I'm planting the Three Sisters, and I'm not going to if I'm going to do it, I'm going to do it the whole way. So we planted 33 mounds of the Three Sisters, and I'm really curious to how this is going to turn out. So far, so good. We've got to get in here and weed now that the weather is cooperating a little bit with us. What it is you're going to have large mounds that are over 18 inches in diameter on the top. That's what this was. You can't see it now. And we have 3 rows of it, but you alternate. The first row down here, this is pumpkin. This is pie pumpkins. And I planted three sections of seeds in this. And you can see this is starting to come on with a vengeance. They're doing really well. So that's what you put on in your first mound. The next mound is actually your corn and your beans. You actually plant your corn first, okay? You plant it, and when it gets 4 to 6 inches tall, you come back and you go around. They're crisscross, okay, in terms of how they're planted. So I planted my corn, and then I came back and I planted my beans. So what's happening is this is growing, okay, and then the beans are going to vine up around the corn. And then your mounds of your squash plant or your pumpkin plant that vines, you need them to vine, is going to take over the rest of the midsection of the garden. So we've got to get in here and get these weeds up as much as we can, because these pumpkins are starting to take off, and they're going to take off and grow all intermittently in here. So you just want to take care of that. This is obviously a really great method for growing several types of varieties of things that you want in your garden. Native Americans, the Iroquois. You can look up the history of this, and I'm most excited about this. This is going to be really good. We'll show you a few more things, and we'll finish up. I want to talk about, I've got a lot of questions. I want to talk about a few methods that we naturally use in terms of keeping pests out. Of course, you can always get one of these guys. These are actually manufactured in Knoxville, Tennessee. You can probably get them at your home and garden store. A lot of folks put them up on a stake, but I got crafty and moved him down here. We've had some issues with rabbits this year, and of course we have deer like crazy. I'm fortunate enough that my 2 back neighbors have dogs, so that helps with the deer, although we have found some deer tracks. We put up our electric fencing. Here's the things that we've done. We've had no deer and no rabbits since we've done these things. Added my owl. I move him every day. He rotates around. Corner here, this, he's a spy on them. I have added Irish Spring soaps. Can't hurt. Along the outer perimeter, all the way around the garden, I cleaned as much as I could that I thought that my Great Pyrenees, where he's urinated, because he's obviously, when I'm not in the barn, he does have his own large stall because he has to be supervised because he's a puppy in training. So we go in there with him a lot, but I have to clean up a lot too. So we have put that down. And the fencing the deer can get over. I mean, I know that, okay? This is more as a perimeter, helps maybe with a little bit with the rabbits, but I think the combination of the owl, all of the waste on the outside of the garden, not in the garden, but on the outside, where Cochise has done his business, and the fencing, it's been about 2 weeks. We've had 0 issue. I mean, one little rabbit family took out an entire row of my beans. Took it out. I about had a heart attack. But so we had to do something quick. And so far, we monitor it every day. So this is just a couple of helpful hints. You can get these for like 16 bucks. They're not expensive. And of course, Irish Spring soap, and if anytime you can get urine or dog stuff from a dog or even human, that scent's going to help keep them off too. So hope this helps you out. I hope you enjoyed watching today. It's so hot, and we got a lot of work to do. Hope this helps you in terms of things you're doing with your garden. If you like what you see, subscribe, like us on Facebook, Instagram, and our blog, and we're going to continue working. It's going to be cool to see how this turns out here in a couple of weeks. So good luck with your garden this year, and we'll talk to you soon.